All right, Clint Lamb joins us now, BamaOnline on 3 Sports. Clint, welcome back to the show, buddy. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Okay, so practices are open. Had a chance to talk a little defense yesterday. And when you're talking to Freddie Roach and those guys and Kane Wommack, you start to hear about this defense. And there's one guy in particular that sort of caught your interest in Keeley. Tell me and the Bama fans that big talent in Keeley, what you think and how they're going to use him this year and what you got from being at practice.
First of all, I appreciate you guys having me. It's interesting with Keeley because I still think he has some growing to do. Like when you look at him technically and just, the nuances of playing the position, I still think he's growing as a player. Didn't play hardly at all last year. There was a reason for that. He didn't enroll early, but, extremely talented, former top 5, top 10 talent in the country for a reason. He's got all the physical tools that you could possibly want in a pass rusher or edge player. And in the previous defense, you have 3-4 principles. He's more viewed as an outside linebacker, even though you don't want him dropping into coverage much. I would say in an ideal situation to be playing like a 4-3 base in. And in this new defense, you're going to have the bandit, which is essentially going to be that. He needs to be a bigger body guy, kind of Justin Aboybe-esque, like Aboybe was that heavy end for Alabama last year. But the main difference between what Nick Saban did and what Wommack will do is, Nick wanted to move those heavy ends inside on passing downs. And the bandit in this new defense, if it's possible, you want to leave him as an edge on all 3 downs. And so Keeley will have that opportunity where he can play that position. You don't have to worry about him playing Wolf, which is an outside linebacker, off-ball linebacker hybrid, where he's going to be playing about 33%, about a third of his snaps off the ball. You don't want Keeley doing that. So I'd had questions as to whether, where exactly he would fit in the defense. You thought maybe he could be a sub-package player. But with him actually playing bandit, he has the frame to continue to add weight. He's probably around 245, 250-esque right now. I'd probably like to see him get up to 260, 265, but he's going to have opportunities to put his hand in the dirt, get after the quarterback. If you're going to play that bandit position, the fact they want heavier body guys, the reason is for that is you want to be able to stop the run effectively. So he's got to be able to prove that he's a balanced defensive lineman, but he's, tons of talent, and I think he's going to end up having some opportunities, whether it be situationally early on or if he ends up being a full-time guy later on. I still think he's got a lot of talent, and I think that with Freddie Roach and him kind of switching positions and now having Freddie as his position coach, I think he could be an impact player for Alabama, maybe even as soon as this season.
All right, Clint, with you and other media members there, let's talk about the atmosphere as a whole. We were actually at the facilities last week. We were talking to Kalen DeBoer about a story that he doesn't cuss. It kind of went viral. And there were reports blaring music, but it was radio edit hip hop. Did you notice that yourself?
I did notice it. It took a while for me to notice it. You hear it, but there's so much going on. And I will say, just being at practice, getting to see everything, it was kind of tough to see the quarterbacks and the receivers. They were kind of on the far side of the field, the running back, some of those offensive skill positions. But you could see everything else. But you got 1,000 things you're trying to focus on, and it's the first time we've been at practice in forever. And so, I noticed the music immediately, but it took a while for me to notice that it was clean music, which, I think if you're going to have media members out there, filming things and, you're going to take that approach, you probably don't want them posting videos with a bunch of cuss words and stuff in the background. Probably not a great look for the program. I don't know what other colleges do. I've never paid attention much on that front, but I think, it wasn't surprising by any means. In fact, once I started to think about it, it kind of fit.
Yeah. What was surprising to me is some fans' reaction on social media was, "Oh no, man, they're playing music during practice, blah, blah." Oh, it wouldn't have happened that way under Nick Saban. And I know it's different, but how loud is it at games? I'm happy for the noise. I mean, you pump everything you can in there all the time. Get used to the distractions.
That's exactly right. I mean, you want to simulate that as much as you possibly can, and it's very difficult to simulate, but you want, even in a practice environment, like practice makes perfect. If you do it right during practice, if you can communicate effectively during practice, that can carry over to the games, and it will carry over to the games. And so the goal is to constantly have some sort of noise being pumped in where you can't, it's not super clear what a coach is screaming at you for or telling you to do or whatever, but you got to be able to remain calm, process the information that's being given, communicate effectively with others, And I think that only helps you when it comes to game-like atmosphere. So it might not be the music choice for some people. Nick, if he would have done something like that, you probably would have heard a lot of Eagles. But it's a new era of college football, and I mean everybody knows. I think one thing about Kalen DeBoer and really the entire coaching staff is they know how to connect with the players. And I'm not saying that Nick Saban didn't; he absolutely did. But it's this new wave of players is a lot different than the ones that Nick Saban was coaching for most of his coaching career. So it's different, and it's something that people will have to adjust to. But I have no issues with the music. I think it will actually be beneficial, and the players seem to enjoy it.
BamaOnline.com, BamaOnline.com on 3 Sports. Clint Lamb is the Alabama football analyst for Bama Online. He's with us on the JohnsonRVCenter.com hotline. Give me some other players that may fit better into the 4-2-5 and the way Wommack will run things. I saw Tony Mitchell moving around out there. I thought he looked good. Some guys that you think maybe this change may fit them a little bit better.
Yeah, so, in Nick Saban's defense, you had the jack linebacker, which is really a weak side defensive end. It's going to be your primary pass rusher, playing opposite the Sam, which is your strong side linebacker. Then you had positions like Star, which is that kind of, a Sam linebacker replacement, strong side linebacker replacement, got a safety, hybrid that needs to be able to play up closer to the line of scrimmage, needs to be able to stop the run effectively. And then, so with those two positions, those were the two that kind of from a name perspective was different than a lot of other teams. With Wommack and what he likes to do, you've got the Husky, you've got the Wolf, you've got the Rover. The Rover's essentially a strong safety. You've got the Husky position, which is that safety linebacker hybrid, very similar to the Star position. And so you needed to have a bigger bodied safety who kind of acts as an undersized linebacker, but because he's going to be replacing one of the linebackers up in the box, but he's also got to have plus cover ability as far as being able to, line up over the slot and things like that. And then you've got the Wolf, which is, like I said, is kind of that pass rusher, off-ball linebacker hybrid that's going to be playing, mostly on the line of scrimmage. You want him to be one of, if not your best pass rushers, but you also need to have a guy who's comfortable, lining up off the ball and dropping into coverage a little bit. And so it's new, it's different. I think Tony Mitchell, it was tailor-made for that Husky position, 6'2", 205, really has the build and the physicality of a slightly undersized linebacker, but he's got, with his corner history in high school and the fact that he played safety, he's got a lot of plus cover traits, and so I think he's perfect for that position. I don't know if he'll play there. He could play Rover, which is that strong safety role, but he's a guy that I'm keeping an eye on. As far as the Wolf is concerned, I think there are a number of guys who can play it. I think there's a reason. First of all, you don't want Keeley dropping into coverage or lining up off the ball a lot. So it made sense that they made the move to ban it for him. But you also got a loaded up Wolf position. Yanze Pierre, former 5-star, Quandarius Robinson, former top 100 player, Russo, 5-star player. Coate was a borderline 5-star talent. So it continues to be loaded. But I also think as far as your linebackers, you also got the Stinger, which is the weak side linebacker. Between Mike and Will, having Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson, Alabama probably has the best off-ball linebacker duo in all of college football. And those guys in this defense, they're going to be able to roam, get sideline to sideline, hit people. Wommack didn't really blitz his off-ball linebackers a ton at South Alabama, but I think that was more out of the skill sets of his players. And what we saw from Lawson and Campbell this past season, you want to have them getting after the quarterback. So I think Wommack and company are going to be able to be a lot more creative in where they send pressure and how they send pressure. And I think that's going to make the defense very versatile and very effective. But really at all three levels, you got impact players who can do some great things. I love Jordan Renaud. He's another bandit candidate. Really like his fit as far as being able to survive out there on all three downs. Power profile, extremely strong, should hold up against the run, but also can convert speed to power as a pass rusher and be very effective getting after the quarterback. And so I think they got, a lot of good candidates at these positions.
Flipping to offense, and speaking of the quarterbacks, when you watch the 4 guys throw yesterday, we were told just a couple of days ago, when you see Austin Mack, you guys are going to be wowed just with his physical size. Did that stand out to you?
Yes, absolutely. We had heard about it, and we know that Kalen DeBoer likes those bigger body quarterbacks, those taller quarterbacks. Austin Mack is a different bird than even your typical bigger quarterback. I mean, just the height alone stands out, and he looks a little bit lean. You know, when you're 6'6", I mean, you're going to look a little lean unless you weigh 250 pounds like Cam Newton. But he's kind of got that Joe Flacco build, but he's got some mobility. You saw him move around a little bit yesterday. I was impressed with the mobility. I was impressed with the arm strength on the limited that I saw. I mean, we're not going to get to see a ton, but I thought that, you know, he looked impressive physically. I thought a guy like Daniel Hill at running back was extremely impressive as far as his size. Very thickly built running back, looks more like an outside linebacker. You know, not quite Derrick Henry as far as length and height, but certainly has a really good build and moved extremely well. But getting back to the quarterbacks, it's going to be an interesting conversation all offseason because I think Jalen Milroe showed enough last year where he should be the assumed starter. But I think that when you have a coaching change, you're going to have some opportunities for some other guys, and Alabama has talent in that room. So the good part about that is Jalen Milroe can't get complacent. He's got to continue to push forward because there's a lot of guys who are going to be gunning for that job, and he seemed to thrive in that environment last year as far as being doubted and thriving in that competition, getting better over the course of the season. And so I would expect that to continue, but it's a loaded quarterback room like at a lot of positions. And I think when you look at Kalen DeBoer and the fact that he's kind of known as being a quarterback developer, that bodes really well, whether it ends up being Austin Mack, Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, or anybody else.
All right, Clint Lamb with us, BamaOnline on 3 Sports. We always appreciate the time. Interesting breakdown about the defense and how that personnel is going to fit. You can follow Clint there on all the social media platforms, BamaOnline, to get his thoughts on some offense as they become available spring break and then into the heart of spring practices coming up. Clint, man, thanks for the time. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely, fellas. Good talking to you guys.